Welcome along to our deep dive into what's buzzing in AI today, Monday, April 28th, 2025.
It's quite a day for AI news.
Absolutely. And just so you know, what you're hearing now on AI Daily Deep Dive, it was all researched and actually generated entirely by AI.
Which gives us a pretty unique angle on things, I think.
It really does. Okay, let's jump right in. What's story number one?
Well, first up, we've got DeepSeek R2. That's the next big reasoning AI coming out of the Chinese firm DeepSeek.
Okay, DeepSeek. Now, I remember DeepSeek R1 making quite a splash. It basically matched the older ChatGPT performance, didn't it?
Exactly, matched O1, but the key was it did it at a much lower cost. That really shook things up a bit.
So naturally, there's a lot of buzz around R2. What are people speculating? Could it, challenge the newer OpenAI models?
That's the big question. Could it compete with, or maybe even leapfrog, something like O3 or O4 Mini? What's really interesting is how DeepSeek gets there.
Right, because they have faced some hardware limitations, haven't they, with the high-end NVIDIA GPUs?
Precisely. So instead of just relying on the absolute best hardware, they've focused heavily on software optimization, making things work really efficiently on less powerful chips.
That's a different path. And R1 showed it could work.
It did. And they have this open source philosophy, too.
Yeah, making their models free for offline use. That's definitely caused some discussion, especially in the US AI scene.
For sure. And it's not without controversy either.
What kind of controversy are we talking about?
Well, OpenAI has previously raised concerns suggesting DeepSeek might have used ChatGPT data for training. Plus, there have been some, let's say, user concerns about data privacy with their mobile apps.
Or data going back to China.
That's the worry for some, which is why running the models locally, offline, is appealing to certain users.
Gotcha. Okay, so technical specs for R2.
Yeah.
What are the rumors?
The numbers being thrown around are pretty wild, like 1.2 trillion parameters.
Wow. That sounds enormous, computationally intensive.
It does, but here's the twist. It reportedly uses a hybrid mixture of experts setup and MOE architecture.
Meaning it doesn't use all those parameters at once.
Exactly. The estimate is it uses around 78 billion parameters per token per interaction, so much more efficient than the total number suggests.
Okay, that makes more sense. And the hardware they did use?
This is interesting, too. Reports say it was trained on Huawei's Ascend 900 narrow-B chips.
So building up a domestic supply chain there.
Seems like it, moving away from reliance on NVIDIA, perhaps.
And the cost? R1 was cheaper. Is R2 expected to follow suit?
Oh, big time. The potential savings sound massive. Some estimates suggest it could be up to, 97.3% cheaper.
97% cheaper. Compared to what?
Compared to OpenAI's GPT-4 for both training and inference actually running the model.
That's game-changing, if true. What about performance? Any early hints?
Early benchmarks are apparently looking very impressive. Strong reasoning capabilities and highly efficient.
And the data it learned from?
A huge amount.
Yeah.
5.2 petabytes, they say. And supposedly high-quality data, including specialized stuff like finance, law, patents.
So aiming for real-world application competence. And is it just text or more?
The expectation is it'll be multimodal. High-end vision capabilities are anticipated, so it should understand images too.
Okay, so considering R1's impact, how might R2 disrupt the market now?
Yeah.
Especially with, the economy being what it is.
Well, the economic situation is always a factor, but DeepSeek's whole approach, that software optimization focus, it really challenges the old idea that you must have the absolute most expensive, bleeding-edge hardware.
Right, it's just maybe there's another way to build powerful AI.
Exactly. It could really democratize things, potentially, or at least shake up the competitive landscape long-term.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears. Story number 2 takes us to YouTube. They're experimenting with something called AI overviews. Sounds a bit like what Google search is doing.
A very similar concept, yeah. Basically, YouTube wants to use AI to generate summaries of key moments in videos.
Okay, so you search for something, and at the top, you get a little AI-written summary.
That's the idea, to help you figure out quickly if a video is what you're looking for.
Where are they testing this?
Right now, it's pretty limited. US only, YouTube premium subscribers, English language searches, and focused initially on just shopping and travel content.
And users can give feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, standard feedback mechanism.
Now, just like with Google's version, I bet creators have some concerns.
Oh, absolutely. The main worry is watch time.
Right.
Yeah.
If people get the gist from the summary,
they might not click through and watch the whole video, which could hit ad revenue, engagement metrics, all the things creators rely on.
it's the same fear website owners had with Google's AI overviews potentially reducing traffic.
Exactly the same dynamic.
What's YouTube saying about this? Are they trying to reassure creators?
Their line is that these AI tools are meant to empower creators, not replace them. They point to other AI things they're developing.
Like what?
Things like auto-dubbing for different languages, tools to help generate content ideas, even AI-assisted editing.
So they're framing it as helpful tools, not just summaries that might cannibalize views.
That's the narrative. But, the actual impact, still very uncertain. And no word on if or when this rolls out globally.
Something to keep an eye on. Okay, next up. This one's a bit different. An AI deity in Malaysia.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more unexpected stories. At the Tianhu Temple in Johor, they've introduced AI Mazu.
Billed as the world's first AI-powered deity. What exactly is it?
It's a project by a Malaysian tech firm called Amazon. They've basically integrated AI into traditional religious practice. AI Mazu is a digital representation of Mazu, the Chinese sea goddess.
And they tried to make it look authentic.
Yes, the design apparently aimed for cultural authenticity. It's modeled, interestingly, after a fuller-face version of the Chinese actress Liu Yifei.
Huh, okay. So how do you interact with an AI goddess?
It's done via a virtual platform. People can ask personal questions, get interpretations of fortune sticks, the traditional bamboo sticks, and receive customized blessings.
And how are people responding? What's the feedback?
Reports suggest the interactions feel gentle, comforting, even empathetic. And the public response seems largely positive.
Really? Who's engaging with it?
Apparently, it's quite popular with younger generations and also with people who maybe can't physically get to the temple. It's generating a lot of social media buzz, too, people sharing their experiences.
Wow. That definitely raises some big questions, doesn't it? Culturally, philosophically.
Oh, absolutely. It sparks debate about, the nature of the sacred. What role can AI play in religion? Is it still sacred if it's AI?
And practical concerns, too, I imagine, like commercialization, data privacy.
Exactly. How are those interactions stored? Who has access? And does this change the role of human priests or religious leaders? It could boost virtual donations and global engagement for the temple, maybe lead to tech partnerships.
But it also highlights how religion itself can adapt and innovate using new technology.
It really does. A fascinating intersection.
Okay, moving from the sacred to the perhaps more mundane, the office. A new Microsoft report has an interesting finding about AI use at work.
Yeah, this report looked at AI adoption in the workplace, and one key takeaway is that some people are using AI specifically to, avoid talking to their colleagues.
Really? Using AI to dodge human interaction. Why?
The survey asked people why they did this.
Yeah.
Some common reasons were fear of being judged by colleagues. That was about 17%.
Yeah.
Another 16% said they wanted to avoid friction or disagreements. 15% felt their colleagues' demands were too much.
And a small percentage, like 8%, even admitted to using AI so they could take sole credit for the work.
Right. A bit Machiavellian, perhaps.
But these weren't the main reasons people use AI at work. Right?
No. The report definitely showed the more popular reasons are still things like AI being available 24/7, that was 42%.
Makes sense.
Completing tasks faster, 30%. Getting an endless stream of ideas, 28%. So productivity is still key.
But that avoidance aspect is still noteworthy, especially as Microsoft itself is pushing things like
Copilot.
Right.
Exactly. They're rolling out more AI tools like 365 Copilot Wave 2, which includes these AI agents. Their vision is AI as a collaborator, blending machine smarts with human judgment.
But it seems some humans are using it to reduce the need for human judgment from others.
Potentially, yeah. It highlights that these tools can be used in ways maybe not intended, or at least ways that have complex social side effects. The report frames it as part of a much larger, longer-term shift involving technology, society, and the economy.
Okay, final story. And this feels like an important warning. Using AI for financial advice. Maybe not a good idea.
Yeah, definitely a cautionary tale here, based on a Vicey article. It references a study that specifically tested AI chatbots on financial questions.
Which chatbots did they look at?
The study from the Walter Bradley Center tested several big names: ChatGPT 4o, DeepSeek V2, which we just talked about, Grok 3 Beta, and Google's Gemini 2.
And how'd they do?
Pretty badly, across the board.
Like, how badly?
Well, the best performer was ChatGPT 4o, and it only got 5 out of 12 questions right.
Ouch. Less than half.
Yeah. And Gemini 2 was the worst, with only 1.5 out of 12 correct.
Wow. What kinds of errors were they making?
The study found basic math errors, which is pretty concerning.
Really? Like simple addition?
Yep. The article mentions an example where Grok incorrectly added $3,700 and $200 and got $4,900.
That's not great for financial advice.
Not at all. Other issues were overly long, verbose answers,
Hmm.
sometimes with typos, and this general air of like extreme confidence even when they were completely wrong.
So they sound authoritative, but the substance isn't there.
That's the core problem identified. The conclusion from the study, and echoed by outlets like Mind Matters, is that these chatbots are really good at mimicking human conversation, maybe too good, sometimes using excessive exclamation points, trying to seem relatable.
But they fail spectacularly at the actual facts needed for sound financial advice.
Precisely. And the danger is that users, hearing that confident, authoritative tone, might overestimate how smart the chatbot actually is.
And make bad decisions based on faulty AI advice.
Exactly. So the takeaway is crystal clear. Do not rely on current AI chatbots for financial decisions. They are fundamentally unreliable for that task right now.
A really crucial warning. Okay, that wraps up our look at today's top AI stories.
Quite a range, from new foundational models to AI gods and workplace dynamics.
It really is. Groundbreaking models like DeepSeek R2, shifts in how we interact with platforms like YouTube, AI entering really unexpected places like temples, changing office life, and those critical reminders about limitations, like with financial advice.
The field just keeps moving, doesn't it? Always something surprising.
It certainly does. Hopefully this deep dive gave you a clearer picture of the current AI landscape. What stood out most to you? What new questions pop into your head? We definitely encourage you to keep digging into these topics and think about the wider ripples these changes might create.